Well, hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you so much for clicking on this video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a time lapse of another small bathroom that I did. Now, this bathroom was a little bit more work because it was a whole entire bathroom. Now, the drywall conveniently for me had been hung already, so that was very nice, and props to the person that hung it before me because they did a really good job doing it. Really, at the end of the day, any hang job I think is an okay job, but the more you hang drywall and the more you finish, the more you learn how to do an even better job. But besides the case, so the first thing that I did, because I did not hang this drywall, is I went in and I made sure that all the screws were put in, and I also put in a couple additional screws. They did not glue this job, and so especially for the ceiling, I wanted to make sure that there was ample screws in the ceiling so that nothing came down. So after checking all that, then I was going to get ready to put some of the mud on, and for this job what I ended up using was actually 45 minutes. So again, this allowed me and gave me the ability to put both coats of mud, both the faster drying mud and then the standard box mix of mud that you see, so that we could get both coats of mud on in one night. And so because I'm doing that faster drying mud, I'm actually going through and putting some of the flex tape stuff on all of the flat surfaces. And then what I'll go to do is I'll put the normal mud in all the corners when I go to tape the corners. Now, something that I learned on this, and really at the end of the day it just makes for more work on my end, I made the mistake of putting 45 minute for my corners when I was taping. And so why that was difficult is because 45 minute, 20 minute, any of that faster drying mud, it's a little bit harder to work with unless you wet it down quite a bit. And so when I went to go tape my corners, a couple of my corners were getting really hard to tape, and so that just made for more work for me when it came to making sure it was looking all smooth and pretty, and also when it came to sanding. So it was something that I learned, and I don't know, maybe something that you can learn as well. So here you can just see I'm putting the 45 minute on, just trying to fill in kind of where the drywall goes down, and the homeowner did a great job of putting the bone edge, what I call the bone edge, which is kind of this clean edge. And if you look at drywall, sometimes it dips in, and that's what helps you get that smooth surface for the drywall. Anyway, so after all the mudding, I come back the next day. You can see I'm just getting some paper on my sanding pole. To be completely honest, sanding is probably my least favorite thing, but it has to be done. I guess it's part of doing drywall. So anyway, so just kind of showing you what the finished product looks like so far prior to mudding. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put some plastic up, just trying to consolidate the dust. You know, with drywall, if you've ever done drywall yourself or you've ever had someone do drywall in your house, you know that drywall dust is inevitable no matter what you do, no matter how much you vacuum or sweep. So I'm just trying to do whatever I can just to at least keep the drywall to a minimum, the drywall dust to a minimum. So I'm getting that all plasticed off, then I'm going to get ready to sand. Now, for sanding, I definitely recommend wearing a mask. There's been a couple times for some jobs, especially because of when COVID was happening, that some homeowners asked us to wear masks when we were even hanging drywall, which, you know, we gladly and kindly did for them. And it was kind of nice not even getting some of the drywall dust from hanging, but especially for sanding though, definitely would recommend even just wearing a basic type of mask. I'm sure there's obviously better filtering masks that you could wear, especially for sanding drywall, but even just some sort of prevention is good. Now, when I sand, I like to have this flashlight with me. Now, 99% of the time, no one's going to have a light directly on a wall like this, but I like to do this because it really helps me see if there's any nicks from my knife when I was mudding, or if there's any, you know, sometimes when you're sanding, your fingernail might make a divot. So I just really want to see how everything looks, if it looks nice and smooth. And then also too, when you're sanding, you want to make sure that you run your hand over it as well. Now with this job, after I sanded, there was a couple spots that I had to go back and touch up, and you're going to see that in a second. And for me, some of these spots, unless it's really small, if you got to touch up a big spot, or especially a corner, which like this corner right here, this angle was a pain in the patootie for me, I ended up having to skim it out, and I ended up having to come back one more time just to make sure it looked good, because I wanted to be pleased with my final product. So you can see again here, I'm just kind of skimming out this final thing. This was after I had done my first sand, because I just needed to touch it up. And then at this point, I'm going to whip out the shop vac. I brought that. It made cleanup much easier. And at this point, I took my mask off because the dust wasn't too bad, and thankfully the vacuum wasn't kicking up a lot of dust. So just trying to suck that all up. Thankfully, they are redoing the floor in this bathroom, so I cleaned it up as best as I could, but there was no pressure to make sure that there was no mud on the floor or whatever, because they were taking care of all of that. Yeah, so pretty nice and simple. Again, I learned a lot on this job, and for those of you that maybe are finishers, or those of you that haven't mudded something, definitely want to make sure that you are holding your knife properly, so that way you're not hurting your wrist, which is something that I have learned just recently, and especially watching this video back, I definitely can see why my wrist was maybe starting to hurt after doing more and more finishing. Well, anyways, I hope you learned something from this video, and again, I learned something by doing this job. Anyways, if you are interested in having me do some drywall work for you in the local area, anything that I need you to know to get a hold of me is in my description box below. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to keep in touch with the channel, and if you want to, go ahead and leave a comment. Whatever time of the day it is, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching this video.